Okay, coffee. How many pounds of coffee beans that sell for $9.50 per pound should be mixed with 2 pounds of coffee beans that sell for $11.75 a pound to obtain a mix of $10 a pound? Now it looks to me like this is going to bear greater weight than the coffee that is $11.75. So my expectation is that there's going to be more than 2 pounds of the first guy. And in keeping it similar to the last one, let's set up 1 plus another equals another. And since these are coffee beans and then coffee beans, it doesn't really help to use like the letter CB. So maybe I'll consider this to be cheaper and expensive. So let's go with X, which we'll write cheap. And then we know all this, guys, so we'll call that kind of the more expensive. So let's put EXP, and then we'll put cheap. And we need to hit the mix. So I'll just call this one mix over here. So facing only the quantities, let's do all of these at the same time this go around. So I set this up, I know that I'm going to have the same number of columns as before. And if I was doing this on a smartboard, it would be neater. So make sure that you're keeping it pretty clean. So we have the kind of the cheap, the expensive, and then we have the mix. And we know we're dealing with like some sort of quantity of it, which is measured in pounds. And then we're also dealing with the cost per pound. And then lastly, that would mean we would know what the actual price is. So with the cheap, I know that we are asked how many pounds, so I'm going to write that as X, because we don't know the total number of pounds. But I do know that it's going to sell for $9.50. And if I want to know the total cost of that, it's going to be $9.50 times X, just however many pounds we have. And if I move on to the expensive one, well, the expensive one, we do know how many pounds we're going to get, so I'm going to put 2 lbs, and we know that that's going to be $11.75. So here I am writing 2, and then $11.75, and here we'll write $23.50. And if you're not sure where that came from, just multiply those two numbers. Now this is going to result in some sort of a mix, and if there's X pounds here, 2 pounds here, then it's going to be however many pounds there were in the first guy, plus 2. And let's just throw some reasoning behind that. If I had 10 pounds of that, and 2 pounds here, then my total would be 12. That helps this feel a little bit less foreign to me. So here's X plus 2, and then if I look at the table, it's just summing these two numbers. But the goal would be to sell this for $10 a pound. Which means that the total cost of this is going to be that $10 a pound times however many pounds there are. And when we go to create an equation from this, we're going to say that 950x, so that's kind of getting the cost that I'm putting in for the cheap coffee, because it's $9.50 for X pounds, plus the cost that I'm getting out of the expensive stuff, which is 2 times $11.75, which is $23.50, is going to be equal to the cost of the whole final deal. And we're almost ready to start solving this. So we'll write 9.5x, I'll ditch my 0 there, plus 23.5. You can keep them if you want, but then I'm going to clear my parentheses by writing 10x plus 20. To avoid negatives, when I solve this, I'll subtract 9.5x from each side, which leaves me with 23.5 on the left, 0.5x on the right plus 20, and then I'm going to take 20 away from each side. Same as we did the last one, even though there's decimals involved, I still feel more comfortable when I put 0.5x on the left is equal to 350 on the right. Divide both sides by 0.5, and then maybe you're like, well, I know that dividing by a half is the same as doubling it, so here's x equals 7 pounds. And if I look back at what I predicted, my prediction was that for this cost to be brought down from $11.75, there'd probably have to be more of the cheap stuff to make that happen. So I feel pretty good about that. I think I'm good to go. But if I didn't, you can go ahead and figure out, well, what would the cost of the $9.50 coffee be? We know the cost of this. And would that be equal to the new poundage? 7 plus 2 is 9 times 10 is 90. So yeah, 7 pounds, and then it's probably a good idea to be of the, and I wouldn't say cheaper, but I'd say $9.50 per pound coffee. And I only wrote per pound on the other side there because I kind of ran out of room, and there's the $9.50 per pound.